for it. Pyramid being one of the 7 wonders of the world, in fact, the only one that's left in our civilization at this point in time. It's pretty exciting, and hopefully you can get a feel for the energy and the excitement that's here as people come from all over the world to see and touch the Sphinx and ancient monuments of Egypt. Luxor Temple, our first temple off the Nile. But let's get a closer look. Now right here is Amenhotep III. This would be the pharaoh that built Luxor Temple. The way it works in the Egyptian time, the pharaoh would build a temple dedicated to a respective god. That god would then protect and deify that pharaoh. Throughout the temples of Egypt, you'll note hieroglyphics, pictograms, etchings. They describe the life of the people, and I'll be getting into some descriptions of many of these scenes a little bit later. But there are so many pictures, it'd be impossible to cover them all. This is a mosque right up here. A closer up picture shows some of the intricate details. Here we have some tourists in a close-up of Amenhotep III located within the hyper-style hall. Here's a close-up of one of the columns. Amenhotep and wife. Note how tall and huge these columns are. They fairly dwarf the human being and give you a sense of respect and omnipotence to be in such a humongous work of art. Again, we have the hyper-style hall, which was used to connect with the gods in nature and give a context for viewing the stars. The call to prayer, a great constant in the life of any good Muslim Egyptian. Face Mecca and honor Allah. Now note here, we have the Avenue of the Sphinxes. In a moment, we're going to go to the temple at Karnak, while they're turned into a completely different animal. But first, entertainment. Luxor Karnak Temple. Now you'll remember my Avenue of the Sphinxes. Well, over here we have an Avenue of Rams. Now note underneath the chin of this ram, we're going to see a close-up of the pharaoh. Again, deification by the gods. They go hand in hand. Here we have 2 columns, left finished, right unfinished. Let's take a closer look at one of the pictures etched on one of the columns. Here we have the god Amun-Ra with his better parts etched out. Karnak is known as the Temple of Dreams. It is laid out in the form of a human body so that when you enter the temple at the feet, you journey through to the stomach, midsection, heart, and finally the head. Now, I want you to notice these colors. Imagine, if you would, that the whole temple originally was painted in just those bright colors. See the pylon on the left right there? Well, originally, this whole pylon was covered in gold leaf, a little more impressive than color. That was, of course, until the robbers got a hold of it. Now here is the sacred lake where the priests and priestesses washed before sacred ceremonies. Speaking of sacred ceremonies,
this labyrinth of facades and passages, esplanades and corridors, perspectives and detours to which only priests and pharaoh had access.
Wearing a royal headdress of vulture feathers.
It is made up of 3 contiguous sandstone chapels. The chapel at Amon's Park is in the center.
What a specimen of the papyrus-cut gracious colonnade.
Okay, you got me. This is a sound and light show at the Temple of Karnak. Now here we have the Luxor Museum, a beautiful piece. Off our cruise ship, felucca boats, camel rides, and the local townsfolk, all involved with daily life. For truly, it's here to be seen, heard, smelled, and experienced. Not much has changed in over 5,000 years in Egypt. Ah yes, a little modern-day irrigation, but all in all, it's a gentle Nile ride. Here we are in the town of Edfu at the temple of Horus. Now, Horus, the god, was represented, as we see here left, by the falcon. Note here on either side of the door, again, the falcon, and a little symbol of the pharaoh, again, protected by the god. Pictures are seen all over the temples in Egypt. The pictures describe temple life, giving depictions of what's going on, what the priests did, the different ceremonies, the pharaoh. Here's a picture of the god and pharaoh in journey. Here's a picture of the god blessing the pharaoh, and the pharaoh praying to the god. Here we see a journey of the sacred bark. The sacred bark? What's that? This is. It was the container for the journey of the gods. Solid gold statues. The gods lived in the statues lived here, and then they went into the sacred bark. Up the stairs, into the light, and out into the marketplace. Well, this wasn't here 5,000 years ago. Now, on to Abu Simbel. Abu Simbel is located in Abu Simbel, Egypt. Here's the temple of Ramses II. Now, get ready, viewers. If you look closely in the middle in a red shirt, that's me, looking quite amazed. Can you believe the temple of Abu Simbel was moved stone by stone, statue by statue, more than 200 feet to save it from the rising Lake Nesor? Again, we see these pictures of temple life. The pharaoh offering food to the gods, the pharaoh smiting his enemies of Egypt, riding his chariot, going about making war, and all about generally saving the kingdom. Now, in a moment, we're going to get a close-up of the deities of this temple. Left to right, Ptah, Amun-Ra, Heliopolis, and the pharaoh. Ah, the temple of Queen Nefertari. Women doth rule. Now, inside this temple, we're going to find depictions of the queen's connection to the goddesses of Egypt. Here we see the queen attended by left Isis, right Hathor. Isis was known as the mother of Egypt. Hathor was known for her loving and nurturing nature. Now we are passing the Aswan Dam and water. Well, let's go. These are felucca boats. They're a lot of fun and are a form of transportation to Kitchener Island. This is a botanical reserve, a true oasis in the Nile River. Well, back to our cruise boat, the Nile Ruby. The locals are very busy with gardening. Hey, I'm hungry. But wait a minute, I can't eat anything without plenty and plenty of spices. They're all available at great prices here in the market. But all that walking and eating, yes, entertainment. Well, back to history. The Temple of Isis at Philae. Now, the Temple of Isis was also moved when the high dam was built and the Nile rose. It was also the last refuge of the Egyptian priests who were fleeing the encroaching Christian religion. When you're at the temples in Egypt, you'll notice that many of the pictures have been changed, altered, etched out. This was an attempt of the Christian religion to reform. Now this picture right here, that's Isis and the baby pharaoh. Christian religion tended to link it up to the Virgin Mary and the birth of baby Jesus. So some depictions on the various temple walls in Egypt were left unchanged. Of course, if you keep a sharp eye out, you'll see many, many changes where the earlier Christian religions have left their mark upon the temple, just to let them know. Like this one, for example. Now, on to Kamambo, temple of the crocodile god Sorbek and Horus.
If they have a very high flood or a
Now
very
again,
low flood,
I want you to get your eyes ready for some more beautiful colors that will be coming up in just a moment. And remember, originally, the entire temple was colored. Blues, reds, greens. The entire thing was in vivid depiction, just like these examples that you see here. Now this is Nabil. He was our tour guide. Tour guides are great in Egypt. They help to explain a lot of the detailed information that's difficult to discern with the Western eye. Let's hear what Nabil has to say about this calendar.
see, this is the first day. What is this symbol? This is the flood season. They did a lot of
Medicinal tools.
So anyway,
Here we have a woman in childbirth.
the D and the T were interchangeable. So these.
Now in a moment, we're going to see a Nile meter. What's a Nile meter? It was used for measuring how high the Nile was. Here it is right here. That way the priests knew exactly how much to tax the people. You think that would work here in the States? Anyway, this is a water filter. Water goes in here and comes out clean here. Let's see, what's in here? This looks pretty. Oh, well, it is the temple of the crocodile god. Yes, eyes viewers, that was me. Now we're in the city of Esna at the temple of Khnum. Once again, notice the beautiful artwork. Artwork is the life of the Egyptian, and they took hours to painstakingly carve columns and paint them. Another point to note, the columns in the temples of Egypt are representative of the papyrus grass. See? These carvings are actually meant to imitate the grass of the papyrus, which was so highly prized in Egypt. Why, in some examples of the columns, this one, see the cricket atop? Now here again we have the examples of the good pharaoh of Egypt. There's the God blessing the pharaoh. Here we have a picture of the pharaoh smiting the enemies of Egypt by the thousands before a very, very happy God. Ah, we're at the dock. It sometimes takes 1 to 6 hours, depending on traffic, to get through the dock of the Aswan Dam. But it doesn't matter, for this is Egypt, and the view is great from anywhere. Ah, the lunar eclipse was full in January. Here we are at the Valley of the Queens, the tombs of the kings and queens of Egypt. Now remember those colors? sit back and get ready to enjoy a sumptuous feast. Here we're at the temple of the Queen Hatshepsut. She was the one who built that pillar and covered it with gold. Ah, the Valley of the Kings. Now, really prepare yourselves. We're going to see exquisite, original colors, preserved and protected from the sun and the elements for thousands of years, just as they were in the beginning. Well now, here we are at the statues of Memnon. This right here is a monument to Egypt's modern-day soldiers. Ah, the step pyramids at Saqqara. Now, this is how you build a bigger pyramid in Egypt. You start small. Step pyramids were the precursor to the larger pyramids, such as the Great Pyramids of Egypt. You can see here again, earlier versions of the temples. Notice the columns are smaller. Now out here, we have tons and tons of unfully excavated tombs. Who knows what discoveries lie? Let's take a closer look. Ooh, maybe not that close. Let's take a peep in here. Ah, secret statue. Notice the row of cobras across the edge of this temple. As I said, tons of tombs unexcavated. This is Akhenaten's carpet school. This film has not been sped up. They truly weave that fast.
Sending letters to the Pharaoh here, apologizing.
The Great Pyramids of Khufu. A sacred journey indeed that not all have taken. Into the king's chamber. This is the solo funerary boat. It was used once for Khufu's funeral. I suppose Egypt's not big on recycling. The Pyramid of Khafra, the Great Pyramid, and the Great Sphinx. Let's take a closer look at some of the temples near the base of the Great Sphinx.
This is alabaster. in some places.
Ah, the view the Sphinx has seen for 10,000 years. Camel rides. Ha, boy, hope that's as fun as it looks. Hey, who turned out the lights? Ah, it's the light show at the pyramids. Cairo is a city that never sleeps.